Assalamu alaikum and hi. In this video, we're going to go through the solutions for week 8, part 2, Java string manipulations, where in this lab we have discussed about string, character, and array, and the relationship between these three elements. We also look into some Java string methods, for example, char, add, length, index of, and finally, we look into a use case on how actually string manipulations can be used in your real life problems. So let's start with the first questions, where in the first questions, it asks us to determine and write down the output of the following code segment. So you're given a string here, and you will need to kind of like write down the output of these. Of course, what you can do, or what we can do, is actually we just copy paste the code here and we run it. Of course, we run it and then we will see all the results. But it is also important for you to understand how these methods functions, because in your exam or in your test, you'll be asked to write down the result without actually running the code. So let's go through this one by one. The first one is code of the length. We know that the length indicates how many characters, including the white space of the given string. So in this case, we have 26. The second one is equals ignore case. We want to check that whether the two given strings are equals or not equal. But for these specific methods, we have ignore case here, which means, of course, ignore. We know what is the meaning of ignore. Case here refer to casing. And remember, I say casing is actually whether it's capital letters or small letter, right? Or small letter. So we are going to check whether two strings are the same or different, but we will ignore their casing. That's why if we run this second line of code, we will get true, because if you look into this, we have covered the faults of others. And here we also have covered the faults of others. And the only difference that you can see is for this one, the C is capital letter, whereas for this one, the C is small letter. But here, because my method is equals ignore case, which I'm going to ignore the casing, that's why I get true. If now I remove this ignore case, I use the equals method. There's another method, which is equal, and I run this again, I will get false, because we know that Java is case sensitive, and now it will treat the code of the day, this one, cover the faults of others with C capital letter, and the value that I've provided here cover the faults of other with C small letter as two different strings. That's why I get false, which means these two strings are not equal. Now, let's move on to the third one, system.out.println code of the day index of. We know that the method of index of will return an index of the given string. Okay, so this is a substring, of course, OF here. To simplify the task, I have actually compiled a table here to indicate each of the characters within the string along with their index. Okay, so we have C0 here, and slowly we move on towards the M25 here, the last character with the index 25. That's why just now we see the length is actually 26. Okay, it's always one greater than the index because the index starts from 0. Now remember, just now we say we want to have the index of OF, right? OF here. So if you look into here, the index of OF will be 17, okay, because we have the substring, okay, OF here, and the first index that match will be 17. Now let's move on to the fourth line of code here, where we say the code of the day dot last index of, and we have a double quotations here, right? Basically, this is a white space. Okay. Now let's look back into our table. we need to find the last index of. Okay, last index of. Of course, you see quite a lot of white space here. We have 1 here, 2 here, 3 here, and you have 4 white space here, right? But if we use the method last index of a white space, then the number returned by this method will be 19, which is the last white space. Assume that I use the method index of and white space, then of course I will get, in this case, will be 5. So again, if I use index of, I will get 5. If I use last index of, I will get 19. So here, if you look into the output, we're actually getting the correct result here, 17 and also 19. And then we have here system.out.println code of the day dot chart at 8. So 8 here refer to the index. Again, if we look into the table, obviously 8 here will be this one, which is E. So it will return E. Okay, so we have E here. Finally, system.out.println code of the day dot substring 0, 5. Okay, substring, we know that it will return part of the string provided. What is the string provided here? Of course, the string provided here is cover the faults of others. And here it will provide, or it will return a substring with index from 0 to 5. I'm going to write it down here. We want substring, okay, 0 to 5. And we know that for 0 here, which is the first index of my substring, and this will be my last index, okay? And for the first index, we know that it is actually inclusive, okay? And for the last index is actually exclusive, right? So if I have 0 to 5 here, which means I have 0 starting from here to 5, okay? But because 5 is actually exclusive, so we'll exclude index 5, okay? 0 is inclusive, okay? So if I do substring 05, it will return COVER without the white space. So if we look back, we will see that the output is actually COVER without the white space.